capital. And we get told internationally that you have to go to the private sector. Yes, go to the private sector at home and abroad, but remember, the private sector never works on what it owes you. There's only so much ESG you can mobilize, right? But do that, do that. We've got to do that. We are not even doing that right now. So we've got to step up. And why I say this matters is because, look, we are not anywhere too far from our NDC, nationally determined contributions, the energy transition. If the minister is saying 55%, and I can tell you Pakistan is going through a huge solar revolution. It is absolutely quantum. It is happening outside of the public sector. It is happening because there was an enabling policy called net metering. It's enabling policy, and the tariffs and the taxation ecosystem. But there it is. Pakistan has imported 1/3 of its installed capacity in 1 year in solar panels from China. That should tell you something. The public sector has caught up to that, and that's a different debate. But on our NDCs, we can make that transition well before mid-century. We can even up the ambition on that. And the same goes for electric vehicles, which will reduce the pollution, the thick pollution, especially in the Punjab, in the air we breathe, because it's not just an impact on fertility. Pollution is a serial killer in Pakistan. It kills about 128,000 people every year, and 11 million children are impacted by it. They can't go to school in Lahore in what I call the 5th season of Pakistan. India and Pakistan now have 5th seasons. So, please sober your minds. Remember the National Clean Air Policy? It was designed to address this. And it's still very much out there with low-hanging fruit-type solutions, which are not too expensive for us to change the game. Now, what I also want to address as a structural problem is this business of integrated policy and who takes responsibility. If Islamabad rolls out a policy, it is often to meet treaty obligations, at least 26 treaty obligations internationally. But it is also responding to local conditions. Each province, believe it or not, has an excellent climate policy document. Stellar. We now have a brilliant national adaptation plan, if I may pat myself on the back or shoulder for that. But where is it going? It needs to, the federal government's jobs are just to be the regulator, to make the policies, and then the actions have to be taken by the provinces and local actors and whole of country. Whole of country is how climate transitions happen, how environmental changes actually roll back, where you start getting your blue skies back, and when the most polluted, second most polluted river in the world, which is the Indus, and which is your lifeline for 90% of your fresh water, starts becoming less toxic. So it's a question of defining our responsibility. And what is my most important resilience-building project, in my mind, problem? That is Pakistan's water and food security nexus. Now, I don't like jargon. I'm trying not to speak with any of that, because often it substitutes for action. And here we treat this as a call to action, but remember, take this seriously. Pakistan needs to change its relationship with water. It is fundamental to the climate and environment and biodiversity equation. It is fundamental to the economy. All of Pakistan's cities, as the Living Indus session will tell you, all of Pakistan's cities are clustered around the Indus. That's how civilizations evolved, except for Quetta. And all of them dump toxic effluent into that river. That's how it's become the second most polluted river in the world. And thank you for that glass bottle, because single-use plastics are also choking the coastline of my cities and Balochistan, Sindh and Balochistan. That's because of human consumption. Now, no international donor is doing that. That is something we are doing ourselves. That is something we can actually take responsibility for. So is urban circularity even a big thing? It should be huge. Pakistan is one of the fastest growing urban countries in the world, in South Asia right now, faster than India in terms of urbanization. And we're, I think, managing only 1% of our solid waste water, the wastewater. In Rawal Dam, this is a small city, take Islamabad, comes under my purview as standing committee chair. 9 billion gallons of waste are dumped into this dam. It supplies the water for Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Please start asking those questions. Please start putting them on page 2 at least. And please start understanding that this is happening everywhere in Pakistan. So in this arc of actions from global to local, if there are local actions to take, then they have to be related to water. Agriculture is very much part of it. There are different actions needed for our rural areas. And you know what should keep you awake in the morning and hopeful is that Pakistan has actually got one of the most resilient soil and terrains that we've seen. After the 2022 flood, 1/3 of Pakistan was submerged underwater. Many of us did not expect a great deal of it to come back. Yesterday, I was driving through most of 2 days ago, parts of Sindh and Punjab are green again. But that need not happen again. Well, parts of Sindh are not because of the salinity. So we have a problem with water. There is competition on it. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what keeps me awake at night. 2025, we are going to be officially water scarce. Why are we not talking about that? Why am I making videos and telling people not to waste their water? Why? Because we are, per capita, we are one of the largest consumers of water per capita, 4th largest. Anyway, in the 10. So, while there is a lot you can't do about global warming, the heat waves will continue, they will intensify because nobody is switching that switch off. The COP29 told us that emissions are growing. The Paris goals of 1.5 are not alive. The fossil fuel emissions are also growing, so global warming will continue to grow. And lastly, I want to remind you that fix your narrative. Pakistan gets the hottest cities in the world for the last 3 years in the summer. That's 53 degrees, Jacobabad, Dadu, Turbat, in succession and higher. They will rise. That's not fit for human habitation. Just for perspective, in London, in the UK, when it reaches 40 degrees, they declare an emergency. It's time to declare that now, people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Rehman, and thank you, Mr. Ali Chima, for your time. We will now proceed to our